After what's felt like the longest wait of your life, it's finally here. Christmas morning. Or Hanukkah. Or Kwanzaa. The sun has finally begun peeking over the horizon enough to justify waking your parents up to open presents. You rush down the steps, wide-eyed with excitement. As you approach the tree with gifts wrapped underneath, your mind races at the possibilities. One sticks out in your mind though. You're a Xenoblade fan. Surely you'd get the new game that was released this year. Excitedly, you tear open the wrapping paper on each box, and eventually, you found it. Your non-religious holiday mascot has given you Xenoblade Chronicles X. And not just that, the Special Edition. You shove the game disc into Nintendo's commercial success, the Wii U, and your anticipation cannot be contained. While you wait for the game to update, you decide to listen to the OST that was inside the box. It's contained on a cute little flash drive. Little does your young brain know, the moment that this flash drive enters the USB port on your family computer, you will have set in motion a sequence of events that will leave your PC hacked and crippled. Xenoblade X, much like many of the other Xenoblade games, had a different special edition depending on what region of the world you were in. Some would have minimal differences, like swapping a hardcover art book to a paperback, but others were a lot more drastic. DE's European Special Edition had a vinyl record, for instance. I actually went over these differences in a video I did a while back. Here's what you need to know for this video. The North American version came with a different art book, a matted art card, special reversible cover art for the case, and this Lifehold USB with some music on it. The USB is an absolute mess though, and you should probably never ever use it. I'll eventually get to making a video about it one day, but just know a lot of people's computers got messed up because they used this thing. As you can see, I've kept my promise. This thing. This flash drive is what we're going to be talking about today. You've heard about it a couple times already. It can ruin your PC. The number of differing reports on what can happen when you use it is mind-boggling. The music isn't worth it. The drive itself probably isn't worth it. It doesn't even have a full gigabyte of storage. Don't use it. I personally never plugged this metal demon into my computer, so I think it would be helpful to hear a first-hand account on why it's a bad idea and what may have happened to someone when they used the Xenoblade X flash drive.
Okay, this was a few years ago, so I'm going to probably misremembering a few things, but I don't think I actually opened the special edition right away because this was another case of Nintendo Special Editions never come on launch day. So it might have been that I just opened it, took the flash drive, and then probably brought it with me to school, because this was 2015, I was still in high school, and started messing around with it like the next time I had free, because I wasn't about to bring my Wii U and start playing the game there. So first thing I was gonna do was, oh, obviously they've given me 8 tracks from the game. I'm going to try and rip them from the flash drive and like be able to listen to them on my computer at any point in time. So I plugged the flash drive in, and it had this own weird proprietary applet or something for it. I don't remember exactly how it works because, spoiler alert, the flash drive bricked itself eventually. But okay, I'm able to listen to the music here. Let's see what the Windows Explorer says the properties of the flash drive are. And it was partitioned really weirdly so that it only had just enough space for the song files that were supposed to be on it. And you couldn't just access the song files normally just by like going into whatever your computer's file explorer program was. It was, you had to, I think, play a specific applet in it, and that would allow you to access the files, or it needed to be authenticated in some weird way. So that in and of itself was weird. I tried just ripping the files, that didn't work. I tried Googling, seeing if anyone else had figured out how to rip the files. That didn't work. So I'm like, okay, screw it. I'll figure this out when I get home. this was not my computer that this happened with. This was my parents' computer. Didn't happen on my laptop, but when I plugged it into a desktop computer, it didn't do the normal thing where it just took the most recent unoccupied drive letter like any other time you plug in any other USB drive. It skipped all the way to Z for some reason. So it counted itself as the Z drive. And then once I unplugged it, it stopped letting the Z drive work. I have a weird feeling that the problems my parents' computer still have to this day were somehow caused by the Xenoblade X drive. I tried formatting the drive at the very least so that, okay, if I can't rip the files directly from that, I can just find the music elsewhere from a game rip or from the official OST, then I can at least use my cool Lifehold Core shaped drive to store other files on. So, alright, let's format this. Even if it is just actually 128 megabytes and it isn't a weird partition thing, then I'll be able to maybe store some pictures on it, maybe a little bit of audio. Maybe I could put my own Xenoblade songs on it at least. Nope, hit the format button. It just doesn't work at all anymore. But I do think it permanently screwed up one of the USB slots on my parents' computer. I'm pretty sure it just doesn't work anymore. You can plug something in and it won't recognize anything. I still have the drive somewhere. It's not getting plugged into anything anymore because I'm not risking that.
I bet some of you are thanking yourselves that you never even came into contact with the Special Edition. Now, we've established that this flash drive is bad and how, but the most important question is the why. Why? In order to talk about that, I need to explain DRM. DRM stands for Digital Rights Management. It's a bit of a controversial topic in the digital landscape. From my understanding, the purpose of DRM is to ensure that creatives are able to regulate the distribution and consumption of their content. For instance, if you were to purchase an ebook on a digital distribution service, DRM would prevent you from extracting the book files from their application and selling them yourself. Only you, logged into your account, can read this book. On paper, I feel like many people agree that this is perfectly fine, but the critics of DRM would heavily disagree. In practice, what this also does is change what it means to create and own a product. Let's go back to the ebook example. Let's say I'm a small-time writer who's published a few books through a website's ebook service. I have a small catalog of 5 or so books that my fans can purchase. Now, let's say I publish a new book, and the new book just so happens to heavily criticize the ebook platform's business practices. Now, this company can decide that they do not want to associate with me anymore, and they can completely purge my works from their servers. This, in turn, could potentially prevent my fans from reading my other books, even if they've purchased them. This platform could also decide to completely close my account out, and all the books that I have personally bought would forever be lost to me. This is what DRM is. 99% of the time, when you purchase something digitally, you technically do not own it. You have the right to use a digital file, but that right can be taken away at any point by the distributing party. In real life, when you own a book, it cannot be taken from you unless someone physically enters your home and steals it. Now, this is just one example of how DRM is implemented. You might be asking what this has to do with a flash drive. Well, it's because the Xenoblade X flash drive has a specific form of DRM. When you open it up, it displays an exe file that you need to run in order to listen to the music on it. Just a side note, this means that most people with an Apple device aren't even able to access the music on the drive since they can't normally run exe files. Either way, when you run this file, the process decrypts the music for your listening pleasure, which is great. What isn't great is that the location it sends your music to, your Y drive, becomes completely inaccessible to you. This executable will actually hijack your PC's group policy and registry, and make it so you can no longer get to the files by locking and then hiding your Y drive from you. They were so worried about piracy that they went to the most extreme lengths possible to prevent it. The purpose of this was likely to make it so the drive had to be plugged into your PC in order to play the music, but it clearly did far more than that. Well, Now what do? One of your drives just doesn't work anymore. Luckily, there is a solution to this catastrophic problem. Reddit user CSF Flame created a great thread explaining how to reverse these changes to your PC and even includes instructions on how to circumvent the hijack altogether. To this day, I cannot believe that a product we purchased from Nintendo can literally take over your computer. And after this was discovered, as far as I know, Nintendo never put out any kind of statement apologizing or even warning its consumers, which is downright wrong. Before you put all the blame on Nintendo, the true culprit is probably a little bit to the left. A little more. Yeah, there. Sony. Sony Music is actually the publisher of the Xenoblade X soundtrack, which isn't an issue on the surface, but this is not the first time that Sony has been involved with a DRM controversy. In 2005, Sony began heavily implementing DRM on CDs. This DRM would install programs on people's computers without their knowledge that prevented CD copying. Some of them would also covertly send data back to Sony and report on the listening habits of the consumers. Over 22 million CDs containing these programs were sold. Sony would later recall these CDs after the situation became publicized, but this did little to prevent the damage they'd been causing. Later that year, several lawsuits were filed against Sony, with many resulting in rulings favoring the plaintiffs. It would seem that Sony had not learned since this fiasco. As you can tell, this little piece of metal is a bit more than it looks at first glance. Who would have thought that an innocent flash drive with a couple of songs on it could cause such a large problem? I guess if there's anything to take away from this, it's to make sure you know exactly what you're clicking on before you click it. If you had a crazy experience with the flash drive, let me know in the comments. I want to thank Luxin for providing his account of what he went through. I think it was helpful in a major way to have someone that used the flash drive talk to you guys, and you should definitely check him out if you haven't. Also, special thanks to all of my channel members, and super special thanks to Play and Polygloom, who are legendary Blade members. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!